Okay, this is just a quick little message to talk a little bit about the topic selection assignment. Now, the point of the topic selection assignment is to pick something that you can work on for the whole semester. So when you choose a topic, you need to pick something that you think about in terms of all the chapters we're going to do as we go forward. All right, so if you pick a topic and the topic is huge, like 3D printing or bone cells or something like a specific disease condition like rheumatoid arthritis, that's too broad to really run through these chapters and think about. You have basically the reason why the assignment says to pick a device or come up with a device or come up with a treatment so that way you can zero in on it is so that way you can take that device or treatment and run it through the chapters. Like for instance, we're going to do a chapter on cellular tensegrity, which is how all the different proteins in the cell that contribute to structure will actually work with a cell and a surface. What happens to those proteins and those structures inside the cell when the cell attaches to a surface, right? And we're also going to work on cellular receptors. So what happens when that cell touches a surface or touches a protein layer on a surface? What receptors are going to be tipped off? What's going to happen there? And how's that going to work with transduction, signal transduction inside the cell, right? So you have to think about that kind of thing. Or the immune system. How we have a chapter later on the immune system. How will the immune system play into your device once it's implanted into a human body, right? We have a biomaterials lecture that talks a little bit about that too. So if you're picking like a really broad topic or a smarmy treatment or device that's not really very specific, you're going to have a really hard time with this. You're not going to be able to do the topic, which is why as you go and get your graded topics back from me, you want to revise them. You don't have to send me the revision. You don't have to resubmit the assignment, but you need to revise your topic for yourself into something like that so you can then say, okay, how will this device handle protein absorption? Because we're going to talk about that. How will this device do when it's exposed to its immune system? How the body's immune system? How will this device work with cellular tensegrity, right? So that's going to be something that's challenging for you. There may not be papers on everything you're going to do. You can take information from papers, certainly, and you can read about information on that particular kind of device or a device like it to get ideas. But, let's say you're doing, I'll use my example that I always use, an antibiotic-loaded hip implant, right? If a cell attaches to a protein layer on the antibiotic-loaded hip implant and there's a protein layer that connects to a receptor on the cell, and then that protein layer creates some kind of signal transduction reaction inside the cell, which leads the cell to spread because there's all kinds of different things going on with the cellular tensegrity inside there, and all the different kinds of fibers inside the cell are synthesizing and degrading in order to spread the cell, right? What's going on? You're going to want to talk about that in your paper. I expect you to be able to logic that out. There may not be a paper on that. There may not be a paper on antibiotic-loaded hip stem protein layers and cells and what happens with cellular tensegrity when the cell lands on it. There may not be anything like that out there. But because you've taken this course and you've read the textbook, you should be able to logic that out. You should be able to synthesize that information and then write about it and tell me what you think would happen. That's really the point of this course. If you're just doing a literature on rheumatoid arthritis, doing a literature search on rheumatoid arthritis and writing a big paper on rheumatoid arthritis, you're not going to get a good grade because this is not about parroting things. This is not the kind of education where you just parrot back to me something that you read. I need you to think. I need you to think and learn about what happens at the cell biomaterial interface. I need you to think and learn what happens when a drug affects a cell or a drug affects a tissue or a drug affects an organ. Think about that. Think about how one thing affects the other and how these different aspects, these different chapters in the book link together and connect. Okay? That's education. Education is being able to synthesize and be able to connect the dots that you have and make thoughts about that and make logical conclusions about that. Okay? You can test your logical conclusions later through experimentation, not in this course, but at some later date. That's fine. But that's the point. That's the point of what we're trying to achieve here. We're not just trying to have you write a paper where you do a literature search for me, okay? So that's why it's important to create a topic where you can do that and go forward with that and apply that. I want that to be clear, and I want you to watch this video and make sure that you take that into account as you revise your topics, okay? All right, that was the quick note. Thank you.